That's a lot of stuff. Hey guys, thanks for watching our videos. If you're listening to just the audio, head over to our website. We have the latest videos up every time. The one you're looking for is not there. Just head over to our YouTube page. That's where it'll be at. Don't forget, sign up for our newsletter. You get 10% off. You get exclusive weekly content and first chance at giveaways. And sometimes we might just give away stuff for free. Don't forget to follow us on social media for some good times too. Hope you enjoy. Live with love. Welcome back, everybody. So we're getting our first bit of snowfall. Figured it's a good time to talk about winterizing. So for those of us who are still going to be running outside, it's a good idea to get a plan for what you're going to wear. So behind me on the couch, I have a ton of stuff, and that's only a small portion of the things that I have. Really, I know I have a problem, especially when I work at a running store. I've got a problem. So we're going to touch on the basics and some good strategies on things to go with. So we're going to start with the basics: hat, gloves. Not a ton of options when it comes to it. Start with the gloves. Basically, you have your standard glove, so you can use your fingers. Pretty much all gloves nowadays will be smart gloves, as they're called, which means you can use your smartphone, because everyone uses that for their music or recording their runs for the most part, it seems. So it's very popular, so all the gloves are capable, so you don't have to worry about that. You can get them in different thicknesses. I have kind of a lighter weight one. My hands get pretty warm. There used to be some from company Brooks, and then Saucony did a pair, Asics did a pair, that actually had a little windbreaker material that you could pull over to make them like mitts. These mitts are made from a company called Illuminate. So not only is it windproof on the back, a little bit thicker, heavier weight, but on the back side, this material on the back of it, I don't have a light, so you can't see it. There's a bunch of little dots. All of these little dots, as you see, those are reflective for visibility. Kind of works, but I have something that works better for visibility. There's a couple different options that we'll go over with that when we get to visibility. Really, it's either mitt or glove. If you get cold or easier, you want something that's going to keep you warmer, so you want something that's probably going to break the wind if you have a lot of wind. If not, you can just kind of deal with it like I do. Or if you get warm easy, you may want something a little bit lighter. I get warm pretty easy, so I go with something mildly lighter. That's what I wore today. On your head, for the ladies, they do make versions of your skull caps that have ponytail holes. Okay, so you can have your ponytails out. You don't have to wear just a headband if you really want to, or you can wear a headband. As a guy, I only have hats. I don't wear headbands. Sorry. So there's different styles. Some of them are fleece. The fleece are a little bit warmer. I don't prefer them though. They're a little bit heavier, a little bit weirder on the head. The fit just isn't the same. So the ones I prefer are very similar to kind of your tights material. They'll have like the half tights or the running tights that we'll go over. They're a stretchy, lightweight fabric, but they still keep your head really warm. A lot of heat escapes from your head, so it's not like you have to have something that's going to break the wind, otherwise you'll carry too much heat. It's like wearing a hat in the summer, it's not a good idea. That's the one that I usually recommend, is a lighter weight kind of running material one. Works really good. Then, of course, we have the neck and face, which some people have issues with. So one idea is the balaclava, or however the hell you say it. I could never remember it. So you have one of these fancy little guys. Gives you a lot of versatility. I'll make a bunch of noise right now. My hat hair. Hey. It's one of those little do-it-all thingamajiggers. Which some people like, especially when it's really cold. You end up with that uncomfortable feeling in your throat and your chest of breathing in really cold air. So people will wear something over top. So that's a good option if that's something that really happens a lot with you. I've never really won with them. I don't tend to have too many issues, but it is something that when we had the really cold winters, it was nice to have something to kind of throw over. I've got a little bandana, basically, that I've used for summer runs, and I use that in the winter. It works perfectly good for me. It's just enough to kind of warm the air a little bit more, instead of taking in super cold air right away. So that's it for those two spots. Socks are really easy. There's different companies that make them. Two of my favorite companies for socks are Features and Balegas. They make your standard style full foot. If you don't mind things between your toes, check out Injinji. Love those socks. I put them on and I don't notice things between my toes. It doesn't bother me. Absolutely love them. But for standard socks that most people like, Features and Balegas are awesome. And they make woolen versions. Okay, they're a merino wool. Merino wool is much softer. It does not hold on to stank, because that's always an issue. But hopefully you wash your socks anyway. But they hold up really well, and they're also really comfortable and warm. So if you get feet that are really cold, pretty easy. That's something to consider to make them a little bit warmer. And then, since we're on the topic of feet, we'll talk about what you can do with your shoes. So, what we have here, this one in particular, is the Ghost 8 from Brooks. Not a shoe that I've trained in, but one I'm considering, but we'll see what happens. So Gore-Tex itself is a company that makes a material that is waterproof and breathable. Okay, so companies like Brooks, Asics, New Balance, Solomon does it. There's a lot of different companies that use the material in their footwear or outerwear or equipment. So they add this material. It's literally sandwiched between the standard upper. So they add that material. This becomes warmer and also keeps your feet completely dry during rain, sleet, snow, whatever it may be. So a lot of people will move to a shoe like this during the winter. So that's another option if your feet get really cold. Instead of wearing a traditional trainer, which the mesh will breathe very well, which is good for warmer weather, but when it's colder weather and your feet get cold really easy, it's not usually the most comfortable. So, that's an option. Now, for traction, because we're on feet, might as well talk about it. It used to be the one best option. Most people will come in like, oh, it's wintertime, I'd like to get a trail shoe. The problem with trail shoes is that they have just the regular rubber that's on any shoe. They just have deeper lugs. Works great if it's snow and like pack snow, because you can actually dig into that. But if it's ice, you're going to slip no matter what. So the first option that people had for the longest time were things called, most popular brand is Yak Tracks. So these little guys are just little cradles for your shoes. Literally. on the heel, and then we go whoop, pulls over. It's on the bottom of the shoe. The strap goes over top of the foot. Get my finger stuck. And just keeps it in place. So it's like that. So if you have, like some people do, they have a winter specific shoe. They'll just leave this on their winter specific shoe pretty much the entire time, depending on where they live. So that was the main option. Recently, the company Vibram, which everyone knows for the 5-finger shoes, Vibram actually started as a company that makes the outsoles, so the rubber outsoles that go on the shoes. So they have created this new outsole material they call Arctic Grip. It's a new material that they add into the outsole, so one that I've seen it in, and I got to see which other shoes they're putting in. I know they put it in some outdoor shoes, but not running one specifically, is the Razor Ice Plus from Saucony. It's a trail shoe with a built-in gaiter, so it's a full boot essentially on it, so you don't have to worry about water, ice, anything getting even in the side of your shoe, which happens sometimes with gravel, ice, snow. Just kind of annoying. If you've ever had it happen, you know. It's a completely different feel, but it actually gives you traction on ice without actually having to have something on the outsole. So, but that shoe is $180. Also keep in mind, Gore-Tex shoe typically going to cost you $30 more than a traditional shoe, just because that extra material is in there, so you have to pay more for it. Sorry, I don't make the prices. Okay. Before we get into apparel, let's just talk about visibility. Okay. So there's a few options when it comes to visibility. Most popular are things like lights. You know, they flash. Pretty simple. So people can see you. These are also reflective. They have different sizes, different styles of them. We have some that are 0.0 little lights. People love those stickers too, FYI. Or the other option is a vest. Okay. So there's different styles of vests. There's ones like this, which is kind of a minimalist style one, still gives the shape of a person, but isn't the complete cover of a vest. So a lot of people like that. It's a little bit less material, a little bit lighter. So they like that. One thing with straight reflective material is some people, when driving subconsciously, they're just paying attention to what is, kind of in their peripherals. So they've veered towards, and I've had that issue myself during running. So one thing I have found, Saucony does it and Brooks does it. Brooks does it with Nightlife, as they call it, and Saucony does it with VisiPro. These are retro-reflective materials, so this, instead of just sending light back, it absorbs it and glows. It's super bright in regular light. Some of the seams, like this little bottom piece in the center here, that's actually reflective. So the little accent pieces, the trims up front, those are all reflective, but this actually gives drivers the shape of a person. Okay? So they see it, and I have not had any issues with somebody coming towards me wearing something like this. So it's something I highly recommend to people. They do it in jackets, they do it in half zips, so something to keep in mind too. Now let's get down to the basics of layering. So we'll start from the bottom up. Okay. Typically when I run outside, I will wear, if it's cold, winter running, most of the time I'm not wearing a pair of shorts. So like my running shorts I have on now, my space shorts, like not something like that. Start with just a regular hat type. Okay. Just a little compression shirt, easy enough. Keeps the boys in place, but also doesn't, just adds another layer of warmth. They make versions of this. I know ASICS still does, Brooks doesn't. Not sure if Saucony actually does. I'd have to double check that because I gotta get some in. They make them for gentlemen with a wind, they call it a windbreak essentially. So your crotch has a windbreaker material in front of it, So the boys are protected from the wind, which we all know is very nippy and takes the most heat away, and that makes it feel the worst. For the ladies, it's pretty much the same thing, starting with just a regular bottom. If you want to, especially if it's colder weather and you're going to wear a full length tight, just a pair of like the booty shorts, essentially. It's the same thing, just adds one little layer extra. I found it works really well for people. Then there's two options when it comes to bottoms. Some guys are a little more self-conscious, so they wear looser pants. Doesn't make a difference either way. Some will also wear a lighter tight underneath, so they layer again with more material. Works perfectly fine if that's what you want to do. That's just a style preference. I don't like pants flapping around in the wind, so I don't wear pants. I wear tights. So they're just like the half tights, the materials that I have, but they're full length. You can get different styles. There are ones, and they usually range in price from $65 to $100+ depending on who you go with. Nike makes some nice ones, but Brooks makes some nice ones too, and these are the ones that I'm going to try through this winter because I've paired Nikes for a long time, but these have a small fleece liner in them to add extra warmth. There are ones that are thinner, but the wind's going to get through them pretty easily. That's really it for bottoms, unless, you're super warm and you want to wear half tights through the winter because you're a badass, but most people don't. It's not. Unless your winter is Arizona winter, which is a winter, even though it's a dry heat. Shut up about it. Okay? Now when it comes to the tops, pretty easy. Start with a shirt. With a shirt, sometimes I'll wear some of these cotton shirts just because. Sometimes I'll wear a tech tee. These are a little bit heavier, the cotton ones, so I'll wear them sometimes if it's really cold. It gives me a little extra warmth. Then there's the option to wear just a regular long sleeve. So wear a tech long sleeve, wear a cotton long sleeve. Mine just depends on what I've done, if I've done my laundry or not. So if I have anything left for laundry, I'll have more choices. But sometimes it's just a cotton long sleeve. The only thing I got, throw it on, I'm out for a run. And then I'll move to a little bit heavier half zip. I like that, so I'll either wear a t-shirt in this, or I'll wear a long sleeve in this, or if it starts to get really cold, I wear a Under Armour base layer that I've had for a long time, one of those long sleeves that has the little collar. I'll wear that t-shirt and then this to give me a little extra warmth. So that's another thing to consider is those base layers. Those work really well, especially for the upper body. These get a little bit cold, so having extra layers on those. So I'll wear that when it's really cold. I'll wear the long sleeve, and then I'll wear my half zip. Then if it's bitter cold, and usually that's more the wind, if it's really windy, that's when I'll move to a jacket. Okay, there's a wide variety of jackets. Usually I recommend a medium weight jacket because you don't need anything super heavy. So one of my favorite medium weight ones is one I've had for a few years now. It is the Brooks jacket. This is actually their silver bullet jacket they made years ago. And there's a lot of tech that you can get into shirts and jackets, but this actually material on the inside, it's kind of silverish, mildly reflective. That's because that's made from the same materials as those emergency blankets. So it radiates that heat back to you to keep you warmer. I've worn that in just a t-shirt in one of my fall runs and was sweating like mad. So I saved that for colder days. If it's really bitter cold, which we had a few years ago, that's when I got this jacket. So this one doesn't get as much use. Windproof jacket, you can hear it. Company's Flyflow. I'd never heard of them before, but it's got some insulation and then a fleece material, which makes it super warm. But I don't wear it very often because it's super warm. Then some people, this is like your heavy duty kind of jacket. Completely windproof. kind of lined, not really insulated though. Removable hood. But again, this is by the company Illuminate. So all of this sleeve, you can see all the dots. All the dots are reflective. So some people like that, especially with the bright color. So this is a heavier weight jacket. Not the most mobile, not the most comfortable for running. So something like that people don't usually go with. Usually it's a jacket about this weight. Trying to think of a feel that you could go for. But it shouldn't really feel thicker than like a cotton long sleeve. That's a medium kind of weight jacket. Not like a lightweight jacket. This is one of my favorites. So this is a New Balance jacket I got years ago. So it's the bright green that helps people see. But all of these stripes and dots, all of these are actually glow in the dark. So this will absorb light throughout the day. If I go for a run at night, which we all know it's getting dark at like 5:30 now, this is nice to have where I have reflective trim. So all these silver lines are the reflective trim, but I also have something that glows in the dark and is pretty retro-reflective. So this is my favorite jacket. It's still that medium weight jacket, kind of lighter actually, but it's enough to break the wind and also keep me seen. Pretty much it. That's the basics of winter stuff. So the recommendation I usually make for people through the winter is start with their feet and start with their hands. Those are the two spots that are going to get coldest the quickest, simply just with how your body functions under stress, which running is a stressor, good or bad, doesn't matter. Okay? It's exercise. Exercise is a stressor. You're going to move blood from your extremities to your core, especially when it's cold. So, feet. If your feet get cold really easy, start with a merino wool sock. We usually recommend the Features and Balegas. Not only do we just mostly sell those, but those are the most comfortable ones I've ever found. I go with a medium weight one, something with a light cushion. It's not super thick, but it's comfortable. Okay, so we start with that. Then, if you're going to be running in slosh and through everything, Gore-Tex shoe is a way to go. Yeah, you'll spend a little bit more money, but you're probably not putting as much mileage in throughout the winter. So you'll probably be able to use those for at least 2 seasons. So it'll last you a little bit longer than a traditional trainer. If you occasionally run outside when it's better weather, and then if it gets crappy, you go inside, stick with a traditional trainer. Okay. Gloves. Do you prefer a mitt or finger glove? Pretty much the only question I really ask. And then just go whichever one you like. Easy as that. Hat. I prefer the tech hats. Much more comfortable, but if you really want, go with a fleece style hat. Occasionally I wear a beanie style hat. Just depends on what I have or what I can find. Sometimes my place is kind of a mess. So, like today, I ran with one of my regular knit hats. That's fine. But I prefer the tech hat. It's lighter, fits a little bit better, and it just sits better. It's more comfortable for me. So that's the hat I usually recommend for people. Women, I just go with the ponytail version. Okay. To really get a glove, get a hat, get a shoe. Base layers, really all you need is either a tight or pant, whichever you prefer. I've always preferred a tight. We live in Michigan, so something with like a mild fleece liner, so a medium weight one like that Brooks. It's the Infinity tight? No, Threshold tight. This one this year is actually $100 tight. But those, unless you're really going to either expand or contract it, absolute ton, which if you're running losing weight, okay, that'll happen. But most runners stay pretty similar. I've had the same pair of tights for, I've been out of high school for 8 years, going on 9 plus a few more. So I've had it for at least 10 years, the tights. Finally moving on to a new pair. So they'll last you a while. Okay, so yeah, you go, $100, but yeah, $100 will last you a few years. Trust me. I don't see people replacing them all the time. And then just one little simple, small base layer underneath. So you really only need 2 things on the bottom and the top. Most of the time, people already have t-shirts and long sleeves. Okay, so if you don't happen to, get a medium weight half zip, something that has some visibility to it, and then a medium weight jacket. Okay, easy. Obviously, if you're not running outside during very inclement, like very nasty weather, and you're waiting for good weather, then you may not need a tight. Probably want a tight and a half zip. You don't really need a jacket, because if it gets really windy, it's going to be cold, and you're probably going to go inside to the treadmill. So really, that's my recommendations for people with winterized stuff. If you have any questions, comments, if you want to know more on certain products, guys, let me know. No problem answering those questions. Write them in the comments. Shoot us an email. You can hit me directly. It's paul@trainathletics.com. If not, hit our general inquiry. That's just teamtrain@trainathletics.com. Hit us on the Instagram. You can find us on Facebook. Find us on Twitter. Shoot us a message there. We'll get back to you in any way you kind of prefer. As always, guys, live the